Good morning, it's Lisa with Lisa Heal Yourself, and as promised, we are going to learn how to become reset proof. We are going to learn how to prep and stay ahead of this changing new world order. If you are feeling worried and stressed about what has been going on in the world, if you're worried about government overreach, if you're stressed out about the mandates, the vaccine mandates, if you're stressed out about the war, if you're stressed out about inflation, if you're stressed out about everything that seems to be going on behind the scenes at the WEF, the World Economic Forum, if you're stressed out that the cost of groceries and gas are going up and the housing bubble is about to crash and there's said to be food shortages on the way, if these things are starting to stress you out, and whether you have any control over what you say or who you say it to or how you will be held accountable, or maybe your bank accounts will be shut off, or maybe you're worried about the new digital coin or digital ID or digital anything and everything. Maybe you're worried about lockdowns or not being able to leave the country. If you are worried that things are changing day by day, that censorship is getting stronger, that rules and regulations seem to be coming out of nowhere, if these types of things are worrying you, this is the video for you. We are going to get into it today, not talk about what's going on, but talk about how we can prepare for the inevitability of a new shakeup in the world, a new world order, a great reset, whatever you want to call it. Let's get into it. So today I'm going to go through a bunch of things that is worrying me, a bunch of things that I'm considering doing, some that I've already done, and things I think that we collectively all need to think about if we want to be prepared, because things are changing. We can see there's a lot of unrest in the world, there's a lot of inflation, there's food shortages coming. There's a lot of things happening politically. There's a lot of things happening financially, economically. There's a lot of talk about what could be coming from the Great Reset, what we could see, what's going to happen to home prices, what's going to happen to food, what could happen in a worst case scenario, and what we need to be ready for, as we switch over potentially to digital IDs, digital currencies, digital surveillance, as this agenda, I don't even want to say what kind of an agenda takes place, we can tell something is happening. So it's not for me to say whether it's the Great Reset in action, but something is definitely happening. And if you are worried about it, this isn't a drill. It's time now. It is time now to prepare, because things are happening in the world. And if the worst is on its way, we want to be ready. So this isn't a fear video. I don't want anyone to panic, and that's why I say get ready now, because you don't want to be panicked in the final hour. You want to prepare now while we still can. Keep our cool, keep our minds, not devolve into fear or panic. Do things that seem reasonable and rational rather than just reacting to a situation that lands upon you quickly, and things can change quickly. So we want to avoid that. We want to avoid that widespread panic and fear by starting now. So I'm going to go over everything today at a very high level and leave you to figure out most of the details. But I think you should grab a pen and a paper, jot down the headings, jot down these things, and figure out what your plan is for each of them. Maybe you'll have a plan for a lot of them, maybe you won't have a plan for any of them, but it's worth considering, it's worth jotting it down, and it's worth thinking through your own plan. What are the things that we need to think about in the event of another Great Depression or perhaps a Great Reset? This is going to be a long video, so I'm sorry about that, but I'm going to try my best to keep it quick, to break it into categories, useful categories, and to really give an overall comprehensive preparedness plan. So stay with me to the end, because we're going to go over some very, very specific ideas on how we can prepare for what is coming. Okay, so health. The first thing you need to do, particularly if you're on this channel and suffering with chronic illness, is to take care of your personal health. You need to take responsibility now for your personal health. Stock up on your herbs, on your vitamins, on your supplements, on everything that you need if you get a virus or a cold or a bacterial infection, things that may go off the shelves, things that you may not have access to. So we want to stock up on things: vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, You want to make sure that you have your neti pot and your saline solution and a nasal rinse and a xylitol-based nasal rinse. And you can go, I'm going to link it here. I'll link it in the description box. Go watch my video on the protocol that I have for the 2022 flu and cold. Stock up on everything on that list because you want to be prepared if you do end up getting the 2022, we all know what that is, cold and flu. Go through that video, watch it very carefully, and prepare yourself with everything on that list. You also want to be prepared with any other medications or supplements or things, detox protocols, anything that you're going to need throughout the year or the coming years. Try to prepare for about a 3-year period. So anything that you think that you might need for your health in those times, if you don't already have, or you are using currently and seems to be working for you, buy more. Not to use, but to put away in a box, in a shelf where you don't touch it, and then continue to buy your stuff as regular. When you run out, you have all this stuff for another year or 2 or 3 in a box somewhere that you aren't touching. Now, expiration dates aside, just get the longest expiration date that you can from where you buy it, and don't worry about it. Supplements actually stay valid past their expiration date, just like some food. They actually stay valid for quite a while past their expiration date, so you don't need to worry about that. Buy them, stock up on everything health related that you are going to need from a 3 to 5 year period. Go on Amazon, go into your local health food store, go where you need to buy it, and buy what you need. Put it in a separate box. You're not going to be using this stuff. Set it aside as your emergency stash use. Don't forget in there things like hydrogen peroxide for cleaning and topical agents. You want to have Band-Aids for things like cuts so you don't get infections. And you're also going to need just basic first aid kit type things. I like vinegar. I would have a couple of big bottles or big jugs of apple cider vinegar on hand. Going to be needing that. You want to stock up on your essential oils. Anything that you think that you're going to need, get it health-wise, put it in a box, set it aside. Okay, moving on to the next category of health, which is water. If the water gets shut off, if you lose access to the bottled waters on the shelves or even your city water, that you have a way to drink and filter water, because water is the #1 thing that you're going to need. If you find yourself in an emergency situation, if things get extremely bad, water is going to be one of your most valuable assets. You simply will perish without it. So there's a lot of methods. I would first start, if you can't get access to spring water or bottled spring water, I would make sure that you have a few filters in your home. We have a whole home water system, which is the Aquasana whole home water filter that filters everything. But we also, in addition to after it being filtered, I have 2 filters, actually 3 that I use, but 2 that I use more than that. One is the Berkey water filter system. So you can look that up. It's a great water filter system to purify the water and to make sure that most of the contaminants are out of it. I also have the AquaTrue water system, which is an on-your-counter reverse osmosis system. And again, it's one of the first of its kind. It's an amazing system. You can look it up. I also have the Santivia gravity water filter system that I have, and I don't use that often. But again, it filters the water and then remineralizes it through the rocks and everything. It's based on ancient practices. So I also have that filter in my home as well that I can use. So let's say you don't have access to your stove, you don't have access to anything else, you can only collect your water from either the river or the lake or rainwater in a barrel. So if you're near a stream, if you're near, like I happen to be near a lake, you can just collect your water in pails. If you need to set out your rain barrels, you can collect it that way. So let's say that we have access to nature's water. What do we do next? The first thing is we want to filter out all the large sediments. So if you have a bucket and a large steel fine mesh filter or strainer, that's something that you want to purchase ahead of time and have on hand. A nice big bucket and a nice really fine filter. So you're gonna basically getting out the mud and the contaminants and any sediment. You wanna get anything out of there that the large particles that shouldn't be there. So once you do that, you're gonna have water that's maybe still a little cloudy and has finer sediment. This is where you're gonna be wanting to use something like a t-shirt, an old t-shirt, or an old bandana. You're gonna pour the water through again, straining it to collect all that fine sediment, get it out of there. So now you're left with a sediment-free water. So what can we do now? Because it's still full of chemicals, it's still full of impurities, it's still full of viruses and bacteria. So there's a few different things you can do. The best would be if you had bought your own home distiller. I don't have one, I've always wanted to get one, but they are quite expensive. It is hard to distill water on your own, but again, it gets everything out. That's the process of boiling your water by collecting the steam in a separate container, which basically is going to be the water, the filtered water that you want to drink. However, if you don't have a machine, this is going to be hard to do. It's not impossible. You can do it. It's time consuming, energy consuming, and it's difficult. So it's probably not going to be the one that you're going to use unless you go out and buy an expensive home distiller, which you can buy. So the first thing I would do is I would take that filtered water and I would boil it. So your best bet is to boil it. Now this will kill a lot of viruses, it will kill a lot of bacteria, and it will make the water relatively safe. I say not perfectly safe because you're going to be still left with chemical runoff, heavy metal runoff, things like that, that boiling just can't kill, but it will kill a significant amount of viruses and bacteria. So boiling the water is really important. If you don't have access to your stove, you're going to want to have a big pot that you can put over top of an open fire or hang over top of an open fire. This is a really important step for you to be boiling that water. The next thing you want to do is take that water, let it cool down, and you are going to put it out with with the weather conditions cooperating on a full sun day in the water for at least 5, 6, up to 8 hours of full sun. If it's not direct full sun, you're gonna wanna leave it for 24 hours in the sun. This sun, believe it or not, it's like sunbathing your water, is going to kill impurities in the water. So it's an amazing resource from the sun because we know that the direct rays of the sun will kill a lot of pathogens in the water. It also energizes the water. So this water, this sun-bathed water, is going to be an amazing free way to filter your water and to make it safe. So it's because of the ultraviolet radiation that comes from the sun, bombarding these microorganisms with that for a period of time will kill them. And that is just as good as any other chemical that we would generally add to the water, like chlorine. This is really going to kill the rest of those pathogens. Next thing, if you've had the foresight to plant your garden and to plant herbs, cilantro is one of the herbs that I would plant because in a pinch now we can cut our fresh cilantro, put it in the water, and this cilantro is known to bind heavy metals. So it is going to, now you need to rest it in the water for about 24 hours. It is going to clean the water, purify the water of these chemicals and the heavy metals that you just can't boil away. So it's an amazing chelator. This has been studied in universities. It does collect the heavy contaminants and the heavy metals in the water. So it's time consuming. You're gonna wanna leave it there for about 24 hours, and then you're going to pull that cilantro out and the water is going to be so much more purified. This is legit. This is as legit as a purifying system. So you're gonna wanna do that. Now at this point, I would take that water now and put it through one of my systems, the Berkey or the AquaTrue Sonar filter. So I would have one of these two. So the Berkey water filter system is going to be the best one at this point if you have no access to power, as well as the Santevia one that filters and then goes through the rocks. This is also going to be good. So I would probably use my Santevia first and then finish it off with my Berkey. And I would be 100% convinced that this water is perfectly safe and amazing to drink. Now, you can buy things like sterilization tabs. They're sold, and you can look into sterilization tabs. If you don't have all this equipment, you can sterilize your water with dropping these tabs into it, putting some of the chemicals into your water that purify water. So having some of those on hand in case you don't have access to the sun or the weather's not cooperating, in case it's a different time of year, you don't have access to cilantro, in case you've run out of your Berkey water filters and you're not sure, just having a few on hand wouldn't hurt. But again, it's not something that would be necessary to rely on if you're doing all these other filter systems. There's also something called the ultraviolet Steripen, and this is a really interesting product. Buy one of these if you can. It's an effective way to kill germs in the water. Ultraviolet sterilization, as we know from the sun, kills water. So this is just a little bit more powerful of a tool that you can use. So if you want, people use this when they're going camping. If you want to look into one of these sterilization pens, it's good for small quantities of water. So once you've already sun filtered it, and then you have your own jug, or you have your own water container or drinking device, and make sure you have some of those on hand. Make sure you have your water bottles that you like, either a glass or a stainless steel, and then you would just put it in there. You would just gently stir or swish the water with this pen, and this is an effective way to just a double check, a sanity check basically on sanitizing your water. Sanity check on sanitizing. Now remember, that doesn't get rid of chemicals or heavy metals or anything like that. It's just some microorganisms. So pre-filtering, doing all the other filtration methods are essential. You are going to need to do those as well. Then lastly, bleach. I wouldn't use this. I don't believe in bleach. I don't. But if you had a bottle of bleach on hand, which I don't use bleach on a regular basis, but I would have one bottle of bleach on hand, one large bottle of bleach on hand for disinfecting or an emergency situation with water. And the bleach would just help in a situation where you've got some mold or you have something that needs to be cleaned heavy duty, that vinegar and some of the natural products won't work. So I would have one of those on hand in emergency situation, just for something you wouldn't want to get into a situation of mold or in your home or anything where you had no access to it, even though it's not something I generally ever use in my cleaning practices, because again, we have access to modern technology. But if you were going into an emergency situation, having a large bottle of bleach, you could pick it up at Costco, would be beneficial just to have in case of an emergency, in case you need to clean something like mold, or in case you need to purify your water and you don't have access to anything else. It's not just any bleach, it's a regular chlorine bleach without any additives, without any thickeners, without any scents or other chemicals added to it, just regular chlorine bleach. I think it's called hyperchlorite bleach. If you had a gallon of water, you add a very, very small amount of water or bleach to that gallon, and it must be measured precisely. So I'm not even going to give you that amount. I'm going to have you look it up because I don't want it weighing on me. Look it up, record from a trusted source that you value the exact amount, ratio to gallon for bleach. There are various formulas online, so you want to research it, get a formula that you feel comfortable with, and then you're going to do it exact. And this is an emergency situation where you just don't have the time, or you can't filter this water. You need to drink. Someone's sick. You don't trust the water source. There's something happening, and you need to drink water. This is a quick, effective way of cleaning it. You're still going to want to pre-filter it because it works best on clean, like clear water. So always take the time to still pre-filter the sediment if you can, if you don't have time for anything else. Do it with the fine steel mesh, and then do it again with the t-shirt or the bandana for a really, really good clean. And then you can just add the bleach and go ahead and drink it if you don't have time for anything else, if you're in an emergency situation. It does nothing to remove other chemicals, again, but it will kill pathogens and viruses, bacteria, make it safe for you to drink without getting sick. It's adding chemicals, if anything, but it's not gonna pull heavy metals or filter any other chemicals. But in an emergency situation, this is something that you may need to do. Now, if you're in a long-term situation, I would look for a spring. I mean, a spring, a well, anything like that. If you can dig down and find water, this is going to be the best, more long-term emergency source of water. But if you don't, look for the cleanest spring, the cleanest creek, the cleanest lake or body of water, and again, or collecting the rainwater in barrels. Make sure you do have pots, strainers, make sure you have water containers for carry and go water drinking. I mean, you should probably already have these in your house, but if you don't have all your water containers, a couple for each person, you're gonna wanna do that. a couple of big ones for each person, because remember, this is going to be your water for 1, 2, 3, 4 days. You're going to need to have your own personal carrying devices, and then have your filtering your water going in different stages. One might be sitting in the sun, one might be having the cilantro in it, one might be in just the collection stage. So you're going to kind of have stages going through, and then you're going to have your filters, your Berkey filter or your Santivia filter, and then your own water bottle as well. So again, you can buy things like chlorine dioxide and little tablets. You can buy some of these things to just drop into your water. You can keep some of these on hand. You'll have the big container of bleach. You're gonna grow cilantro. You're gonna use the sun. You might wanna collect a pail or a bucket of beach rocks, river rocks, these types of things that are clean, that have been cleaned by the sun, that sit out in the sand all day. Anything that you can collect at a beach, like a big bucket of this, again, using for filtering. You can buy like Gravity Works filters. You can look those up. There's so many different things that you can use, but you need to just be cognizant of first clearing the large sediment, then the fine sediment, then making sure you have a method to kill viruses and bacteria when you're boiling and using the sun, and then heavy metals. Let's not forget about the heavy metals and anything like that. So you can use all the different methods and purifying and drinking. So we just want to go through all those stages, make sure we've done everything on every level, and then it's safe to drink. There's something called the MRS Guardian. You can look through this. It's one of the most effective little pumps to clean lake and river water. So go take a look at this. There's other personal devices like the Life Straw. It's great for camping and your own little personal water containers. But again, I would go into the Berkey filter website and get a Berkey filter. I would also consider a Santiva water filter system. I love the AquaTrue. I use it every day. But if you don't have access to electricity and you need it, that's not going to be the one that you're going to use. Don't forget, you could also do other things to get water. You can, if you're growing a lot of vegetables and plants, you can take them and you can juice them in your juicer. So again, you would need access to electricity to run your juicer. But again, plant water, the juice that comes out of the plants is basically water, plant water. You can also, if it's spring, you can tap trees, maple water. So you can use nature to filter the water for you. One of the things that you're gonna need to wanna build in your backyard is a fire pit, so that you have access to fire and have some wood on hand. So you can make your own water. You can boil your own water. You can cook your own food if you need to. It'd be really handy if you already had a fire pit made. You don't need one. You can make it when the time comes. But if you've already got a really great container, you've already got maybe a metal thing that you can hang pots on, you've already purchased those, it's gonna be easy when it comes time if you need it. And the other thing you might want to invest in is a great big large jug, a water jug. You can buy them anywhere. People even put coffee in them. You've seen them out at events. A great big plastic big water container with a little faucet on it if you need to have your water to go. I use my Berkey for that. I already use the water filter systems that I have because they have the nozzle, they have the spout, and that would be the last filtering spot for me anyways, and so I don't need it. But even to have on hand as you collect or at various places, you might want to invest in like a bucket that you can have holding more water. Also, if you have to, in an emergency situation, drink water, it's better to be alive than dehydrated and dead to drink water with pathogens. So go ahead, you might get sick, you might throw up. So I would say in that case, the rainwater is gonna be better than the lake water, like a stream water, something that's clear. You're still going to filter your sediment. But if you have to, drink water. Animals go ahead and drink water right out of the lake, right out of the stream. You know, they drink the water right from the leaves of the trees or that is caught in a rain bucket from rain. You're an animal, you can go ahead and drink the water. Obviously, it's better to filter your water. It's better to try to kill it all. But if you're in an emergency situation, are dehydrated, you're running low on water, it is better to drink the water, even if you haven't filtered it, than it is to go dehydrated and die. So better to be alive and have some chemicals or pathogens that you need to deal with than be dead. So drinking water is of utmost importance when it comes down to it. It's a gamble, but if you're in the wilderness and you have no access to anything else, or you're on the run, it's just you don't have any access to anything, do your best. Do your best to filter with what you can, but drink water. So remember, we're collecting the water, then we're filtering that water, and then we're disinfecting the water. That's the stages. So you want to make sure that you you have something that is taking care of those. The more the better. If you can double or triple up, then you're going to have great, pure, clean water. And again, if you can get access to a spring or a well, if you can dig down or if you can find a spring, you've hit the jackpot, right? That is amazing living water that nature has already cleaned through the rocks in its own purification system. So again, depending on your source, you're gonna need to have some of these tools available. But again, if you're in an emergency situation and you need to flee or run, you may not be able to bring everything with you. And in that case, you're gonna need a few bigger devices for if you're at home, a few smaller devices for on the run, a few backup things for each different situation that you could encounter. So take that into account when you make your plan, right? That you might be at home and you might have access to your fire pit and a large area to store all the stuff, or you might, be on the run and you might only have your own jug and maybe a pen or a couple of tablets or anything else that you may take with you. So do your best. Remember the stages of how we filter water and how we make it safe to drink. Next, you're going to want to stock up on food. For a really good chronic illness healing diet, you're going to be having a variety of fruits and vegetables, lots of produce, lots of organic produce, as well as grass-fed meat and high quality fats and eggs and pastured and more like a paleo type template for eating. However, you wouldn't have the luxury of this if the shelves go bare or bank accounts are shut off. You want to have food stocked up. In these dire times, you're going to need to be eating a few other things, and you're going to need to be adding grains back to your diet. In this particular case, I would go for white rice. I would also go for oats, oatmeal. Both of them are gluten-free, and you can sustain yourself for long periods of time and your family on these foods. So what I would suggest is going to Costco, getting the huge bags of rice, stocking them in a basement pantry somewhere, fruit cellar, wherever, and you're gonna wanna stock up on this, right? You're also gonna wanna get the great big bags of gluten-free oats. Now, the other thing that I would do is I would buy a lot of canned goods. You are gonna wanna have your protein, so you're gonna want to buy a lot of canned salmon, canned tuna, canned oysters, as much canned seafood as you can. Now get the healthy kind, buy it online. You can get great big boxes of it from Amazon. You're gonna store these boxes of canned salmon, canned tuna, canned oysters, canned sardines, all of the canned seafood that you can. And once you get these boxes, don't be tempted to eat out of them. You still go to the grocery store and buy your regular food as often and as long as you can. And these boxes are stored separately. They're stored away until you need them. I would also buy a lot of canned beans. So generally I would stay away from legumes. But in this case, legumes are going to be highly nutritious for you. So chickpeas, lentils, black beans, white beans, navy beans, you're going to want to stock up on as many beans as you can get. Keep them. They're going to be a great alternate source of protein, and you're going to keep these for energy, for everything that you need. So many cans of these. Other ways to get more beneficial and better nutrients are to go to your grocery store and every single time that you go, buy an extra bunch of carrots, an extra bunch of apples, zucchinis. Just buy these big packages of them. Buy a dehydrator. They don't cost that much money. I think mine is called the Excalibur dehydrator, and you can dehydrate all kinds of fruit, all kinds of vegetables, and you're going to store them in large, extra large freezer lock, Ziploc bags. Take the air out of it. Try to get them as smooth as possible. So every day you should be having your dehydrator going. These are going to be great snacks, and they're also going to have highly nutritious and lots of micronutrients in them when you dry these fruits and vegetables fresh, organic from the store every time you go. And you can be doing this on an ongoing basis. Every day you can have that dehydrator going. You can also dehydrate meat and jerky to make it. Remember, you're going to store it in these bags. Try to take as much air out as possible. And then you can go ahead and store all of these bags in another airtight bin, pail with an airtight lid. Okay, you can also store nut butters, nuts, things like that, although they're not
they don't last as long, but if they're bagged, you can buy the big bags from Costco of nuts and seeds and things like that. You're not going to store, you know, years and years of that kind of food, but it's great to have some of that on hand. So you can also go to like a food source where the restaurants are getting their food. You can buy these great big barrels of nut butters, like almond butter and tahini and peanut butter and all of these, like even big honey, great big airtight containers that last years. And they're for restaurants when they make their recipes and their big food. So go out and buy large bulk bins. See if you can get it in with a restaurant or a local shop or anyone that you know that has a license to be able to do that, and order these large bins of nut butters, large packages of food, because you can't even get those huge industrial nut butters at Costco, but you can when you purchase them through like a restaurant kind of place or anybody who has a license to buy commercial food. And the next thing you can do is you can learn, you're gonna wanna get large containers of lard, tallow. You can make pemmican, but again, you wanna be sure that you have high quality oils on hand. So large bins of coconut oil, lard, tallow, and even butter if you can buy it in bulk. Again, that would take a restaurant type access, but you want to have these high quality fats that don't go bad, that can stay at room temperature and could stay for long periods of time. The last thing I would do with food is I would make sure to get big, huge containers. Again, Costco is great for this. Other places, you can buy great big protein powder shakes. Okay, so normally I don't use these, but you can get some excellent ones, some grain-free ones. You can get bone broth shakes, collagen powders. So you want all these powders. You want to get a bunch of bottles of this in bulk because this is going to sustain you and keep you going. It can be a replacement meal for you and your whole family. So these are the kinds of things that in bulk containers you want to have on hand in stock. So you're going to store these in a cold, dark place. The worst thing that can happen is that a few years go by, nothing happens, and you can start eating that stuff anyways. It's never going to go to waste. You can still use it. So if you don't have to buy groceries for a long period of time after that and you just get to use your stuff, that's great. But if you can keep it on hand for at least a year or two to see what's going to happen, that's going to be helpful and beneficial. So I would start to prepare now. I would start to put a large investment of $1,000 into your bulk food. And then every time you go to the grocery store, I would add more. Every time you get a little bit of extra money, another $100, I would spend it on Amazon. I would keep going. Every week, I would add another $50 to $100, whatever you can afford to get up your stock quickly. And don't forget to buy a couple large bags of Celtic sea salt. You can get it from Amazon. It's really important to keep your minerals up. You're going to need some salt to keep your minerals up. You can add a pinch to water. You want to keep your electrolytes strong. So that is going to be really important. And don't forget about vitamin C. Buy vitamin C in bulk or ascorbic acid in bulk. Just get as much vitamin C so that you can keep up with your vitamin C. You don't get scurvy. You don't have any problems with vitamins. You want to keep that vitamin particularly up.
I'm down in one of my basement storage rooms and I went to Costco. These are the items that I bought. I'm going to go over them quickly with you because I think it's really important to show you what I was able to get for $1,000. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a quick overview of this pantry that's full from one shopping trip to Costco. So you can see in the bottom, I've bought some large bags of rice. Now I don't do grains, but in an emergency situation, this kind of bulk food, white basmati rice, so you can see it here. It's a nice big bag. You can buy it from Costco, fairly cheap. I got 3 of those bags, one of this big bags here. I mean, these are very big bags. They're bulk size bags. An extra drawer here. Big bulk bags again of chickpeas. Again, I don't do a lot of legumes, I certainly don't eat these kinds of foods regularly, but in an emergency situation, these will feed my family. 3 large tins of peeled tomatoes. Again, those are great sauces, very cheap and easy. And anyways, we have some protein powders and some whey protein. And basically this is just, you know, this could be a meal replacement if you had to be. Now I'm going to go to my health food store and buy ones that I will be having, ones that I feel work for my health conditions in my diet. But again, for your families, you can buy bulk from Costco. And again, they're very large containers, and they can be breakfast meal replacements. Okay, so I got some sprouted rolled oats and a big box of steel cut oats. The oats are a great thing to have on hand, and you can, again, have them for breakfast, lunch, easy to store, last a long time. Okay, so what have I got here? This is all chicken breast. Now, normally I only do organic and free-range products, but in the event of an emergency, you can see these packs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 come in a pack, and they're really large, okay? So these are really large items. I have an entire freezer full of meat, really good high quality meat, but if for whatever reason we lose electricity, if we lose access to having that electricity and keeping our freezer, but in the meantime, it's good to have cans on hand. Okay, speaking of cans, this whole part of the shelf is filled with salmon and tuna. So again, you can buy these in huge bulk items. Now, they're not the kind of salmon and tuna I normally buy, but again, I have just tons of it in here. So the whole thing's packed with it. I think they thought I was crazy at Costco, but there you go. That's what I spent the bulk of the money on there. Also another bag of chickpeas here, and just cases. They sell cases of beans, so I just got cases of black beans. All right, so you can buy cases of legumes. You can buy dried legumes. You can buy the rice, oats, chicken, fish. And of course, up in this cabinet here, I bought a bulk vitamin C. This is the kind I would never normally have, but it was cheap. And just as if we need it, if we don't have access to any fresh fruit in the winter months, if this happens, I wanted to have something on hand that's easy to chew and that my kids can eat. I'm going to buy some really expensive stuff on hand as well, but that's a bulk item. A big bottle of coconut oil. You want to be sure that, ghee is pretty expensive. Lard takes a refrigerator. This stays shelf stable for a long time. So this is great. This is fantastic. You want to get some salt. This was a big bucket of salt. You want to make sure you have salt on hand. I'm going to be ordering some Celtic sea salt. I love bags of Celtic sea salt, so I'll be buying this. I did buy a few fire starters because I thought that was important to have on hand. And these bulk candies, chocolates, I just picked them up so that I would have them in case of an emergency for my children, for special events, Christmases, Easters, different things. You could buy these big, and then I just took them from the boxes that they sell them in and put them in sealed jars. You wouldn't want to be in a situation where you had no treats ever to give to your kids long term for these special events that come up. So I just bought a few things. They don't generally eat a lot of that stuff, but that was just something I saw in bulk, and I thought, what a great price. Okay, so those are some staples. That's $1,000. The other thing I bought at Costco was some Ziploc bags. Again, important to have some of these on hand in case you're making, you have to save some of your food. You don't want it to go to waste. I also bought a big couple of bottles of white vinegar. Just vinegar is a great disinfectant, a great cleaner. And again, I need some more big boxes of vinegar. I have my own pantry that I just have a bunch of nuts and seeds and high quality items. I also have a bunch of things up top, powders and green powders and, bulk items of items. Got a lot of I've also got a lot of cans in storage here, things that, you know, coconut milk, sardines, all this. But these are things that we're eating now. So they're not things that I put away and intend not to use at all. I am adding up here. I am trying to bulk my case up here. So some of this will get taken, you know, downstairs, some cans. We also have some soups and all kinds of stuff. I even bought Annie's macaroni for my kids, stuff like that I wouldn't normally give them. But I have some stuff up here, things that I'm not using on a regular basis, but it's also storage. It can also be brought down there, but it's not hidden away that I could never use. My upstairs pantry, I also have a bunch of extra oils and a bunch of extra salts. So it's not like I try to keep 2 on hand of everything. Okay, so I have my regular supplements drawer here that I use, but I also have a storage one. Storage one put away in a big bin, just set away things I'm not using, but everything that I might use if we get colds, flus, viruses, and I have in it here my notes on how to beat things like the C virus and everything else and what I want to take. And that's just put away. It's also really, really important to have potassium iodide or iodine. Iodine's going to be critical, particularly if there's any kind of nuclear problem or nuclear meltdown or nuclear war. You want to have your potassium iodide and you want to have your iodine supplements as well. Okay, so when you think about food, I want you to think of food in 3 ways. We want to prepare our pantry or our cold storage area with food that lasts a long time, with non-perishable items, things that we can eat, staples that we might need on hand in case of an emergency, in case we need to go a month without going to the grocery store, a few months without having access to anything else. But I'd say you need to have 3 to 6 months worth of food that you and your family could live on without having to go to the grocery stores or do anything else. So I think you should make a special trip. I made a special trip to Costco, only one so far, to buy some more bulk items. I spent $1,000 I took to Costco and got all of these items. Next month, I'll plan to go to Costco again and take another $1,000. So I think if I do this over the course of the next couple of months, I'll have enough for a 6-month storage in my home of necessary items. You can also buy from Amazon, you can also buy online, you can also buy in your local health food stores and your grocery stores. It is a good idea to buy in bulk where you can because you're going to save money, and whatever extra money you have per month to spend on this, even if you have to cut down a little bit of your current grocery bills in order to plan for a long term, go ahead and do that. Stop eating out, stop spending your money on foolish things right now, put all of that money to extra food. The next thing I would say is buy seeds. Buy all of your own seeds. Buy a big bunch of them, some that you plan to plant this season. I know not everybody has space to plant. Not everybody has the time, money, resources to have a garden. But at the very least, you can have pots. You can do container gardens. So a lot of big pots with herbs and tomatoes and different vegetables in them, lettuces, anything you can do in these pots, these planting containers. You can put them on your deck. Instead of putting flowers, do all food this season. You can also do some raised beds. You can use your front yard landscaping or your backyard landscaping to remove some of the things that you already have and instead plant some food. You can plant perennials that come back every year. And we're going to do more videos on gardening itself, and because it's such a big topic, and how to make a sustainable food forest, how to make something that comes back, how to make something with longevity, how to work with your budget, all these things. So we're going to be doing some more videos on that topic. So buy some seeds of things that you're going to plant this year. You also want to buy, though, a stash of seeds that you're going to put away in your storage area that you're not going to use. You're not going to use at all. That's for if you're in a situation where it's an emergency and we can't get access to seeds, we can't get access to that kind of stuff. You've already got it on hand. You can also use that kind of stuff for bartering, for exchange of goods and services should it ever get to that point. Lots of packages of seeds on hand to store and then stuff to use as well, because we want to be actively starting to learn what it's like to grow our own food, even if we're only doing some container gardening. I would talk to two people. So you need your animal farmers, the regenerative farmers who have access to grass-fed cattle and pasture-raised animals, whoever you're getting your meat from. And if you're not yet, you need to find a local source within an hour drive of you. The more local, the better. Somebody that's practicing this, that has healthy grass-fed animals that are grazing out in the sunshine on the fields, and you need to set up a deal with them. A lot of them have monthly packages that you can buy. You can buy into a program so that you lock your space in, so that if it becomes super expensive to buy from the grocery store, or they phase out meat altogether, we can't get access to meat, we can't get access to the protein we need, you have an agreement already with a farmer. You're already on a monthly quota. You can already continue for the year to get this meat, to get this amazing, wonderful protein coming into your family. So again, you may have to prepay, pre-make some agreements. You want to be at least a year with a certain farmer. The other thing you want to do is get into a CSA or get into a program with an agricultural farmer who grows local, fresh, organic produce. And a lot of these people have their own, again, programs. So find a farmer with a program. You can get weekly delivery or weekly pickup, or maybe it's a local farmer's market that you can go to, and you say, I want the same amount every week. I want whatever you're growing that week. I want, $200 worth of it. So we're not counting on getting all our produce from the grocery stores anymore. We're counting on getting through a local farmer CSA, or a local farmer, or a local grower, or a farmer's market. You want to be putting a portion of your grocery shopping every week into already pre-planning and prepaying and a pre-agreement with this grower. Because if the food supply, it's hard to get these things, you want to secure your spot. It's really important to secure your spot and make sure that you have access to local, fresh, organic, nutritive foods that you can get, and you're not going to have a hard time getting, and that will supply you and your family with amazing nutrition. So those are the biggest things: is prep your pantry, sign up for your meat and vegetables, sign up with a local grower who you can depend on, who you trust, and where the food is clean. And thirdly, start to grow your own food and also bulk up on seeds for future growing.
You are going to want to have some garden supplies, like a rake or a shovel, whatever, and you're going to make a piece of your yard, whether it's a flower garden or your front yard or raised beds, or even just your whole lawn in general. You can turn it into a garden, a food garden, but you're going to need seeds. So you want to stock up on a whole pile, packages and packages of good high quality seeds that grow in your area, that you know that people have success with in your area.
So if you start now, you're going to be ready if something comes. And if nothing comes, you're going to be more self-sufficient. You're going to be able to collect and grow most of your own food in the summer months, especially if you live in somewhere that has a severe winter. You might not be able to grow it all year, but you'll certainly be able to grow it for parts of the year. This is going to be beneficial for you in a lot of ways. So I would go ahead and prep this thing. I would get some raised garden beds. I would turn part of your lawn into a garden. You can make gardens, or you can grow perennial foods, or you can grow annual foods. So again, we're going to want to get seeds for all the annuals, all the different annuals that we want to have. But go ahead and start to plant the perennials now. Perennials means it comes back year after year. You plant it once and it continues to come back the next year and harvest and grow and reap your returns. So annuals are harvested every year. You plant them like something like a tomato. They grow, they die, they don't come back. Maybe greens, lettuces, these things aren't going to come back year after year. A lot of perennials are low maintenance, and you plant them once and they keep coming back. So that's why it's a good idea to start this year. Make a whole dedicated part of your yard available to food foresting. You can do it in containers, you can do it in raised garden beds, or you can take a whole section, rip out all your plants if you have any, and exchange it for food, or do a whole nother area in your yard and make a food garden. Now, it does take some planning, it does take some work, and that's why you should get started sooner rather than later, because these things are going to come back year after year, and you're going to reap the benefits of this. You want to look up a chart on what thrives in your area. So I'm going to give you a list of things that may be great perennials, but you're going to want to confirm with a local nursery, confirm with somebody in your area or online that it does grow in your zone. So things like rhubarb, you can grow an entire patch of rhubarb. You can grow the green sorrel, and it comes back year after year. It's amazing. A lot of herbs come back year over year. So lavender, rosemary, thyme, sage, they have beautiful blooming flowers and they come back year after year. So it's also very pretty for a front yard. I do my herbs in my front yard. I have all of these different chives, rosemary, lavender, sage, thyme, all of the ones that have these beautiful purple flowers on them. Keep them trimmed, they look beautiful during the summer months, and you can harvest them. So this is something that you're not going to get called out for if you live in an area where you're not allowed to turn your front lawn into a garden. These are very pretty plants, and they do flower and bloom and look very pretty as well. The backyard plants are more of the ugly plants or container plants, or your raised beds, or an area that's relegated to a garden, or if you don't care, if you live out in the country and you don't have any associations telling you can't do this, you could turn your whole backyard into a garden or a food forest. So other perennials are things like asparagus, Jerusalem artichoke, globe artichoke, horseradish. And again, horseradish is great for if you get colds and stuff like that, you're gonna want some horseradish on hand. Some other greens are things like watercress, amazing. That will come back year after year. So again, amazing. And then there's plants like things like garlic that are typically grown as an annual, but if you keep some of the bulbs that you get, then you replant those cloves and they'll come up the next year. So again, things like with the bulbs that you're using and are typically annuals, you can keep a few of them rather than use them and plant them for the following season. So you just plant them and then it turns it into a perennial. Things like ramps or leeks are really good. Ferns, if you grow ferns and you get them early in the spring, they're fiddleheads and they're amazing. So especially for those shady areas where you really don't have any luck growing a lot of things, you could plant some ferns. They're amazing. They look good in the front yard. They look good anywhere. But again, you want to get them early. You want to get those buds early in the spring, and they're the fiddleheads that you eat. I love berries. Raspberries thrive in my area, and they actually overtake everything. So you have to be careful. The shoots just keep coming and coming. So you want a really big area to grow some raspberries, blueberries, blackberries, grapes. We even have grapes growing in our yard. So I've just stuck up some sticks and the vines grow along it, and you harvest in the fall. So that's a great as well. They've been coming year after year. They're thick, they're so abundant. I can't even use all the grapes that I collect. We also have some fruit trees. You can get fruit trees. Be sure to plant them in pairs if you do. 2 apple trees, 2 peach trees, 2 plum trees, whatever kinds of trees you're getting in twos, because they need each other to cross-pollinate. So not just a single peach tree, it really won't do well. You need 2 so that they can cross-pollinate. Again, we had a peach tree. It was planted, I think on its 2nd or 3rd year, we yielded like 200 to 300 peaches in the fall. So amazing, amazing return in value. So wherever you need a tree, plant a fruit tree, plant 2 fruit trees. There's something called Egyptian walking onions, and they have these little bunches. They're perennials, so they will come back year after year. Strawberries will come back year after year. I like to plant them near my rhubarb, but not too close because rhubarb overtakes everything. But again, strawberries, they come back year after year. If you're lucky enough to live somewhere warm all year, you can plant lemons, you can plant avocados, you could plant limes, you could plant bananas. All of these things, all of these more tropical type, you really need to be in the zone for them. But figs, all these things come back year after year. Even in a colder climate, things like a mulberry tree will grow to a huge, massive tree, and you will have so many mulberries you won't know what to do with. The only problem with mulberry trees is I have had them. They are ridiculously notorious for growing huge, and you have so many. So you want to keep these trees small so that you can harvest them. You will never be able to climb up and get all these mulberries if you let the tree grow wild. You really want to keep the trees shorter to manage. You don't want them to get very tall. You want to keep them low to the ground. Also, mulberries, every time that they drop, if you don't harvest them properly, they will stain. So they will stain everything and everything. But if you plant it in the proper spot and you don't have any concrete underneath it or any decking or anything that could get stained and ruined, just grass, you're going to be fine. So oranges, peach trees, pear trees, plum trees, apple trees, there's so many different varieties. And then when you get into the tropics, you can just go wild with all of these. I mean, you could have coconut trees. There's just so many amazing trees and plants that bear this fruit year after year. In more temperate climates though, like asparagus, globe artichokes will come back every year. Currants really great for making jams. If you're lucky enough to live in the tropics, bananas and plantains, papayas, anything like that. I would love to grow some of those things, but unfortunately we can't grow them here in the Canadian winters. But cherry trees look beautiful anywhere. You can harvest in nice, beautiful, big cherries. So potatoes are perennials, believe it or not. They typically grow as perennials in warmer climates. Now, if you have colder climates, it may kill them and they may not come back. But even when frost and snow and ice kill a plant, it doesn't mean that it can't regenerate and come back in spring. Even if it ruins the potato plant itself, the portion that is above the ground, the tuber, the potato that we eat, is still going underground. And usually a lot of times they can lay dormant until spring if they're not all harvested, and then they can reshoot new potato plants. So when you're harvesting your potatoes, don't harvest them all. Have like an area where you're harvesting like sweet potatoes, something like this, and leave some in the ground to let them regrow the next year. If you leave your potatoes too long in the fall, you can let many of your potatoes grow the roots. Once they start growing the roots, you can just be taking care of them. Over the winter months, you can take care of them and they're ready to plant new in the spring. So a lot of these plants that are annuals, you can have the food itself, help it grow the shoots in the winter months, and then be ready for them. You can also, like I said, stock up on seeds. You may have an investment of building a garden, putting the proper like deer fencing around it, or getting the raised beds, getting your organic soil in it, planting the perennial vegetables. I mean, this may be a one-time costly investment, but it's going to pay back over your years, even well after the crisis is over, and potentially through new emerging crises that are still yet to come. So this is a good idea no matter what. I like the idea of a chicken coop in the backyard, and unfortunately in my municipality, they don't allow us to have that. Some municipalities, some more country rural areas will allow you to have your own chicken coop. If you're in one of those areas, you need to get a chicken coop. You can buy them online, you can build them. They're not that expensive, and you want to have an area that you have 6 chickens and they can lay those eggs for you. They would generally lay 1 egg a day. And so you can be collecting fresh eggs for your family. You want them to be able to graze naturally and peck and scratch at the ground. So they're very healthy chickens and are roaming around in the sun. But again, they're not that hard to keep. And again, in the winter months, if you have a winter month and the chickens aren't going to be safe in your yard, you can book your butcher time, get new chickens in the spring, and start again with the eggs. So you can keep them for eggs, and you can also have the potential to use them for meat. So keeping chickens is a great idea. I know a lot of municipalities say no to this idea, but if you can have chickens or a chicken coop, it's a fun activity. It's great for the kids. They love it, and it provides every day eggs for you and your family.
The next thing that you want to make sure that you do is have some different seasonal clothes. You should have all your boots, your coats, your different seasons, your different clothes, some blankets, pillows. You will have all that stuff, so you don't really need to stock up and prepare, but just be sure that you have them ready, that you have things that work for you for all seasons.
Do you want to be sure that you have your basics in any emergency situation or in any changing event? You want to make sure you have prepared your access to food, shelter, water, heat, information. All right, so let's look at heat and power sources. So if the grid goes down, if you don't have access to electricity, or natural gas or anything, you want to look at how are you heating your home? How can you stay warm? So for those of you who have a wood burning fireplace, this is great. You're going to need to invest in some extra firewood and you're going to be fine. For those of you who are on gas, electricity, and don't have access to your own heating sources, you are going to need to consider this. So unfortunately for me, I just built a brand new house and everything's on gas. So now with gas prices rising, with gas crisis coming, without being able to have a wood burning stove in our house, these are the types of things that I'm thinking about. So one thing, if your power goes out, you may want to invest in a generator. Depending on how much money you have to spend, you can get generators for, just doing your main things, just doing the main things in the house, your fridges, your heat, just some things that you don't want to lose, like a fireplace, your fridge, whatever. So you don't have to do the whole house. So you can look at the varying degrees of costs of generators as well. There's also something that you can buy. I'm looking into this. I haven't purchased it yet. I don't own this. There's a few different types of solar powered generators that make use of the sun, make use of solar power, and they're portable. You could use these for off-grid living. You could use these for camping. You could use these for a day or a couple days out in the woods. A lot of people who are self-sufficient and do any kind of off-grid living or off-grid camping use these types of solar-powered generators. And you can look them up, but these are some of the types that you can get. So you can plug in your phones, you can plug in your laptops, you can plug things in, you can charge them. And of course, the sun is powering this generator. I've thought as well on building a bunkie in the backyard or even converting a shed into an off-grid, smaller living place that you could install one of those mini wood burning stoves in, a solar powered generator, and a couple of things there as an off-grid kind of little spot that doesn't take too much to keep heated. And just if you needed an emergency situation, if all the power in your home goes down, you have no other way to get power and to heat it, you could go into a smaller spot to stay warm at night, these types of things, and then go back to the house during the day with all your regular supplies. So it's just another way, it's just another safeguard. A lot of people don't have the money to buy to build, or the permits to build a little tiny house or an off-grid living house on the back of their property or the back of their lot or yard. But a lot of people have sheds. A lot of people can convert sheds into these little tiny bunkies. Just an extra spot that is not comparable to keeping your big house heated. And it's just a small spot in case you need it, almost like a camping type experience. So this is something that everyone could look into, converting a shed or getting an extra shed for just the use of making it a self-sufficient sort of off-grid type living property on your yard. Okay, you want a safety deposit box, something that has access to your most important paper documents. So birth certificates, passports, marriage license, everything that's on paper for you, your husband, your kids, everybody in one area. So that if you need anything, you've got access to all of these documents right away. You can pick them up, grab, and go. So it's kind of an emergency situation, but you need to know where they all are. They need to be labeled, it needs to be marked, and you need to make sure that you have it ready to go, ready to use, ready to take with you if you need to. So this is just a good method to prepare. Deeds to the house, deeds to your most important assets, physical papers, because if for whatever reason we don't have access to our digital online portfolios, we're going to want the paper trail for all of our stocks, bonds, paper assets, house, real estate, our will, anything like this that we have, you want to have access to it. In this spot, you also want to have some grab and go lists, things that you would take with you if you needed to leave your house, things in an emergency case scenario, like a packing list, something ready to go, a packing list, a necessities list, things that you need in certain situations. If you needed to go somewhere for a couple of months. Things that you want to take with you, things that you would need, just ready. These kinds of lists would have people's phone numbers. Say you lost access to your cell phone, you didn't have people's phone numbers. You would want to have the most important people in your life to know their phone numbers, not actually to just be able to push a speed dial button, but actually know their phone numbers. Have some of the information with you. People's addresses. People who are close to you, you want their information, their addresses, their phone numbers, these types of things. Most of us are already prepared with clothing and personal hygiene items. I mean, we have all this in our homes, blankets, all of these things. So we don't really need to prepare for war times with things like this. We have access to them and we can grab them if we need them. But it's helpful to have a list of the most important items that you would want in a crisis situation and just be able to grab them. Also, when you're stocking up on things, stocking up on some personal hygiene items like some extra toothbrushes, some toothpaste, some hair shampoo and conditioner, and again, cleaning supplies, vinegar, things that you can use, some essential oils, bulk vinegar, bulk baking soda. These types of things are great to have in hand. So you're going to want to think about toilet paper, some rags or dishcloths. All right, so let's take it a step further with your important documents. Because things might potentially switch over to digital IDs, digital passports, digital things. I know some passports are valid for 5 years, some are 7. Whatever your passport is valid until, even if you have 4 or 5 years left on it, I would consider renewing it now, even though it costs a little more money. Renew everything now, your license, your passport, your health cards, everything that you need to renew it. And let that expiry date be 5 years into the future so that if they start digital ID, digital passports right away, but they're not going to start forcing people into it until their cards come up for renewal, your card will be one of the last ones that comes up for renewal. Now, it may not save you from this ultimately, but it'll buy you time. It'll buy you time to get a plan, to see what's going on, to assess your options. So it's a good thing to update, renew all your cards right now and get the longest expiration date possible on all of them. They could just create a state of emergency and say everyone has to do it, just the way they did with the vaccines, and implement really harsh measures if you don't do it. But they could phase it out. They could phase it out in a way where once it comes up for renewal, that's the only way that you can renew it. So they're gradually easing everybody into it. So again, if you right now, before this is happening, get the longest expiration dates possible on all your cards, which includes your license, your health cards, your passports, any kind of cards like that that have an expiration date, even your credit cards, and you just get them up to date, get new ones, then you have time. You have time to create a better plan for yourself. So speaking of cards, I want to talk about your passports. So if any of you have dual citizenship or another citizenship, renew those now. Those are very important because some programs will be disappearing. Some of them will be going away. So even if you have a second citizenship, you are going to want to keep that up to date now because rules are changing. There's a lot going on all over the world. I wouldn't trust that it will be there for you when you want to renew. I would renew now. Similarly, if there's a passport that you can apply to, you can be grandfathered in, you have relatives, you have claim to another national passport, please get that now. So I lost mine because I didn't renew mine in time. And when it expires, you're not automatically eligible to get it again. So I had my Dutch passport, my European passport for many, many years. I let it expire and I went recently during all of this to update it and they won't allow me to have it anymore. So I just assumed that lapsing it would be no big deal and I could get it again when I wanted to, and that isn't the case. So you need to keep these things up to date, keep them renewed, don't let them lapse. And if they have lapsed, go right away, see if you can renew, see if you can update it so that you have a backup plan, you have an option. There's another place that you can go to if
there's a real true emergency in your own country. It's great to have another passport. It's great to have another option. Similarly, you can buy your way into certain programs. You can buy passports in other places, meaning you would invest a certain amount of money. You'd buy real estate in that country, whatever it takes to get into that country. There's certain ways that you can still get into some countries. So you may want to look at, I'm not an expert at that, but you could certainly look those up, and you can see whether you can secure another passport by way of generation, like you have access to this, or you could either purchase. They're usually a couple $100,000 that you would be investing. So again, it's not necessarily beneficial to the average person. And that's why if you have access to it, if you have relatives there, if you have any way that you can get a second passport, do it. Do it. You never know if and when you're going to need a backup plan. Buying property in another country is always a good idea. So like some people would like, I would love to buy a vacation property in a little island somewhere. I would love to, Costa Rica, or I'd love to buy a little place. That is great. And often that is a requirement in order to purchasing visas in other countries, in order to obtaining that. So that's something that you can do with your money as well, rather than tie it up in the banks. Real estate, we already talked about, is a good investment, but in other countries, there may be opportunities where the real estate is still more affordable. So you can put your money in that, especially if it's a country that you want a second citizenship passport in, then that's a good way to double up. All right, so you also want to live more frugally. So go through your banking, go through what you're spending money on, and just cancel subscriptions that you don't need. Cancel things that you don't need to spend money on. Don't buy all those things that you don't need. Put your money towards more valuable things, life-sustaining things. Concentrate more on your health. Concentrate more on getting your body strong rather than wasting it on all this junk food that is not good for you anyway. Buying coffees and lattes every day. Having all these subscriptions to everything that you really don't need. Cancel what you don't need. Put the money to better use. Start to live in a more self-sustaining way. Cook your own foods. Learn to cook. Learn to use the leftovers. Start to grow your own things. Start to walk outside in nature. Start to get connected. Start to become more physically, mentally, and spiritually healthy, and let go of the things that are frivolous that you don't need before you're forced to let go of them. Practice letting go of them now. Get more connected to yourself. These are some of the great things that we need to do to prepare. Start to build a community of like-minded people. Meaning most of you who would be in this situation, you can't do it alone. So a lot of us think that we're doing all these things alone, but you really need to have a community. You need to have a support network. So like-minded people, knowing a network of like-minded people who can help in certain situations, groups of people who have been frugal all their life, who homestead, who live on farms, even the Amish community, people who know how to do things. They can teach you things, how to can and cook and preserve, grow your own foods. These types of people are really important to know and start building a community network of. You could consider moving to a location where people are more free, people have a more like-minded, like if you're in the United States, you can move to states like Florida, places where it is more free. There is less censorship, there is less governmental control. But a lot of people aren't going to pick up and move. So just an online network, nothing major, but an online network of people who, join some groups on social media, put it to use for good use for you, of people who specialize in food preparation, people who learn how to grow their own gardens, people who learn how to have their own skills, learn some skills, learn how to garden, learn how to food prep, learn how to, store your food. Join some spiritual communities, people who believe in a higher power. I'm not here to tell anybody what religion they should be, but just connecting to a more spiritual source. It's calming to feel this connection to the rest of the people, the rest of the universe, to nature, to a God, to
something to the universe, to start to get in touch with your own spirituality, your own beliefs. I mean, there's a growing population of spiritual communities online that don't really have any religious denominations, but they're just getting in touch with their own spirituality, their own souls, their own goodness. It helps to lift our spirits. It helps to realize that as a collective, we're in things together. It helps us to feel less alone and more connected. You want to be sure to exercise, to move, to stretch, to walk, to sleep, to get your foundations of health locked in. It's really important to stay strong, maybe to do some weight training or weight building, yoga, being flexible. You want to really have your body, your mind, your spirit, your soul, your meditation practices, and your physical peak health condition in prime shape. You want to continue to work on that as your number one asset. Your health is your number one asset. Being in good prime physical condition, being capable and able, being healthy, getting enough sunlight, getting enough fresh air, making sure that you have enough stamina, building. You can do all these things for free. You can download videos on YouTube. You can download stretching, weight training. You can download yoga. You can download cardiovascular activities. You can go outside and walk every day. All this can be free on YouTube. You don't need to pay for an expensive gym or expensive classes. You can do this on your own. Make sure you're getting enough sleep. Make sure you're keeping your stress low. These are all vital, especially if we're into some really stressful world political and economic situations. Value your health. Value your health, your clarity, your mind, your connection to your own inner voice, to your own intuition, the love that you have with your family, your most precious relationships. Value this above all else because it is these are your most precious resources that need the most care, the most love, the most protection. This is what we do everything for. To feel safe, to feel loved, to feel part of a community and a tribe. So get those relationships strong. Your connection to God or source, your inner self, your inner voice, spirituality, get that locked in. Meditate. Fill your mind with peace and calm, a knowingness. Connect to your personal beliefs, your wants, your needs, your desires, your opinions, your feelings. These are really important. Don't push those down. And again, your physical body. Do what you can. Eat healthy. Get your sleep. Drink enough water. Do the basics. This is a vital, particularly right now. Prepare your body, prepare your mind, and prepare your soul for what could be coming. Now, if you have pets like me, you could invest in a few huge bags of dog food to keep on hand, to store it up just in case we have any problems with being able to get pet food. Though, of course, you could always make their food and let them eat what you eat. But in times of crisis or when you're saving money, you're not wanting to give some of your food to the dogs. So having some of these big, large bags of dog food on hand is going to be helpful. Okay, so let's talk about the big one, money. This is the one that we're all worried about, right? What happens if a new digital coin comes out? What happens if the banks foreclose? What happens if the banks shut down or inflation keeps rising or our money, our paper assets, our fiat money, the fiat paper that we have is devalued and we're left with a lot of money that we either can't access from banks or that has no value. So I'm going to be the first to say that I am not a financial expert. I'm not a financial person. This is definitely not my forte, but because it's not my forte, I can give you an insider look at what just a regular person, what I'm thinking about preparing, because we're not all millionaires. We don't all have a lot of liquid assets. We're not all experts in these areas. We don't know what we're doing, a lot of us. A lot of us have very minimal money experience or very minimal money investments. And so when we're worried about protecting what we have, one of the first big things I think that you can do is to start learn now. The best teachers online are on YouTube. That's the best source of information that's free. You can go on and find out what the billionaires are doing. You can find out what the millionaires are doing. You can find all these financial experts who have books and who are giving away their advice for free online, and really build up your wealth of knowledge for free. So this is an amazing resource. We have access to these amazing resources. So that's the very first thing that you should be starting to do now, especially if you don't know a lot about money. For those of you who have some money in the bank, who have a savings account, maybe you have $5,000 in it, maybe you have $50,000 in it, but you have a nest egg in the bank for this emergency fund savings that you have easy access to. It's not tied up in any assets, and you feel like you could go to the bank and withdraw it for whenever you need either a really large purpose or somebody loses their job and you need to access those emergency funds. So depending, a lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck. You may have a few $1,000s, or you may have up to $100,000, right? Some people are going to have, $10,000, $20,000 saved in this fund. The thing that scares me is leaving it in the bank, leaving it there, because a lot of everything that I've learned is the banks could deny you access to the money, or the bank itself could, really, that money doesn't belong to you, it belongs to the bank, and they've already lent it out. So they may not even have it when you go to get it. You may be limited in pulling that money out. It also may be devalued if they come out with a digital currency and there's a shakeup in value of fiat money. So one of the good things I think that you should do is A, you need some access to emergency money, and B, you shouldn't hang on to a lot of money. So if you've got a couple $1,000s sitting there, that might not be a big deal. But if you've got $50,000 sitting there and you can't get access to that, or you lose those funds in some way, because remember, you're not getting a high rate of return. You're not getting any investment back for keeping that money in the bank. There's no rate of return. The rate of return, you would have to keep it there forever to see anything come back on that investment. So keeping it there is basically just your safe holding, your safety deposit box. But if the bank doesn't allow you access to the money, or the bank goes down, or we have a digital currency, or there's a shakeup in fiat money, don't forget that money isn't sitting there for you to collect, to go. It's not backed by gold anymore. It's valueless. In my opinion, for my emergency fund, I think what should be done is you should keep about $10,000 cash on hand in your house, in cash, in a safety deposit box where you can access it, you have access to it, you're holding it. Back in the old days during the Great Depression, they used to take their money and lock it in safes. They used to put it under their mattresses. They used to bury it in the dirt. This is what the people who went through the Great Depression learned. Hang on to your own money, have access to your own money. So that's the first thing. I think you should have about $10,000 liquid cash in case of an emergency, in case you lose your job, in case there's a lack of food and you need to buy more, in case you need to leave your home, in case there's any kind of a crisis, a world emergency, a war, anything that happens, you want to have access to at least $10,000 liquid cash in your hands. Now, the thing that I worry about is the cash might become valueless. It's just paper. It's not backed by anything. So a lot of people are buying gold. Now, I don't have any yet. I don't know how to buy gold. I don't know the best place to buy gold. But you can learn this stuff online. And so a lot of people have these bars of gold or silver, and then there's coins of gold and silver. And you literally have the coins, the asset coins, or the bars. Now, the coins are more usable because you can trade them. You can use them for money. Anyone's going to take that gold. And so a lot of people might not have change for a bar of gold. How do you have change? What are they going to, if they don't have gold, what are they going to give back to you? So when you're bartering with goods and services, when you're spending your gold money, the bars might not be as useful for spending. Coins are. But the bars are going to be good for investing, for holding instead of the cash, because they're always going to have value. If the money goes under, if fiat money goes under, and we have any kind of crisis, we're going to go back to pinning the dollar against gold. So gold is already, it's a resource, it's a natural resource, it's not going out of favor. So already banks around the world are reinvesting in gold. So having the gold protects you. Let's take $50,000 as an example. If you have $50,000 cash, you're going to take 10 of that and you're going to save 10 of that in liquid cash. You may take another $10,000 and say, I'm going to put 5,000 of that into bars of gold that I'm going to hold in my own safety deposit box. And I'm going to take another $5,000 and put it in gold, but smaller denominations, gold coins, gold, other things that I can trade and spend with if I need it. So now you've got cash, you've got bars of gold, which is your value of cash, and you've got coins. And you just keep all that in your safety deposit box. That's $20,000 in your safety deposit box. Now, if you only have $10,000, then you change the ratio. Maybe you only have $5,000 cash, $5,000, $2,000 in gold bars, and $2,000 in gold coins. It's something. So you just change the ratio based on what you're working on. Then you would take a portion, so half of your emergency savings fund, and you have it in liquid cash, gold bars, and gold coins. The other half of your emergency fund, so if we're saying there was a $50,000 emergency fund, now we have 20 of it tied up in cash, gold bars, and gold coins, and the other $5,000 of that put into Bitcoin, something that's a little more risky. You don't know what's going to happen with Bitcoin. We don't know if the government's going to try to regulate it. We don't know what's going to happen, but into a digital coin of some kind, Bitcoin is probably the leading coin that you want to put your money into. But again, with government crackdown, we don't know what's going to happen to Bitcoin. But $5,000 into Bitcoin would be wise. So again, $10,000 in the cash, $5,000 in the gold bars, $5,000 in the coins, $5,000 in Bitcoin. That's $25,000. Now you would take your other $25,000 and take this money and don't leave it in the bank. We're not going to leave it sitting in the bank because we're worried that if the bank closes or doesn't give us access to our money, it's wasted in there. Plus, it's not getting any kind of a return. So we want to reinvest that. We want to reinvest that in real estate. Real estate's tangible, land, the housing market, all of that is going to go up in price. There's a shortage of land. Everybody is looking for land. They will always be looking for land. So land is always a safe bet, as well as housing, affordable housing that you can rent out to other people. And so we would like to take that other $25,000 and get a loan from the bank because they love creating debt. They love giving money out for debt. So if you can get a second mortgage, if you can take possession of a piece of land or a rental property, this would be a good place to put the rest of that half of that emergency fund so that you can start making money. You can start to have cash flow. So now land doesn't create cash flow because it's just a piece of land sitting there. But I like to say if you have land, you can do other things with it. You can rent the land out to people to do things with them, to store things on it. You could have a farmer, a regenerative farmer, regenerative agriculture on that land. You could rent that out to people like that. You could put a bunkie house on it or a tiny home and rent it out as a camping experience. So depending on the location of where you get, if you can get it in a desirable location with lots of trees, forest, close to a lake, a beach, whatever, this is going to be an amazing investment and you can rent it out and still have cash flow on that land. If you're able to find, right now the housing market is crazy. Everything's at its highest that it's ever been. So it's never a good idea to buy high. However, if you can find a deal, if you can find somebody in a situation that they're foreclosing, need to unload, whatever reason, the market starts to fall, and you can sweep in and get a deal that you can then turn around and rent out and carry that mortgage, then this is a wise investment for you to do. Real estate is not going out of favor. In fact, the big companies like BlackRock are swooping in to buy these companies so that they can do the same thing and rent them out. So this is going to be really important going forward: real estate, tangible investments, and having cash flow. You could also put some money into yourself. You could invest it into an online business, your own business. If you have any kind of skills, trades, you could start your own business, a side hustle. If you have knowledge in a certain area, you could create your own online program. You could create a business online in something that you're an expert in and that you specialize in, and sell your services. This again creates cash flow. It's doing something and contributing to something that you are giving value to somebody else, and you're getting cash flow back. We don't need to go through an employer. We don't need to go through a system to do that. You are direct to consumer, whether it's through a trade or you have information to sell, whatever it is. You invest in you, in your own development, in your own growth, in your own learning, in your own business. You don't need to do big marketing campaigns. You don't need to waste your money. Just create the product, create the service, create what you're doing, spend the money, spend the time, the resources to allow yourself to do this. And then you invest in yourself. You invest in your own business, your own service, your own knowledge. This is another valuable way that people out there can create their own incomes and start to rely on themselves and invest in themselves, grow themselves, and not be beholden to companies that you don't even want to work for, you really have no passion on, and you're not contributing to society. So this is a win-win-win. Now, I don't know much about the stock market. I don't invest a lot in stock markets. I don't really trust the stock market during these times. However, we know that during crises, some stocks are going to take off and some stocks are not. Now, right now, all the stocks that are taking off are unfortunately ones that I don't personally believe in. So I would never put my money in something just because I think that there's going to be a return, like say a pharmaceutical company, just because I know there's going to be a great return on that when I don't believe in it personally. So you only invest in things in the stock market online that you feel good about, that you really believe are going to grow and are also going to contribute to society in a way that you want it to grow. So we're not putting money into something that's going to be destructive for the world or not align with your personal morals, your personal ethics, your personal beliefs. So you definitely want to align yourself with companies that are coming up and coming companies that are solving problems, contributing to society in ways that you agree with, in ways that promote the types of businesses and the types of ideas and solutions that you want to see in the world. So there's going to be a lot of this stuff coming out, renewable energy, and there's regenerative farming. There's whatever you're passionate about, there's up and coming companies, there's up and coming solutions. Look for the leaders in those solutions and invest some. This just gives you another way to diversify. You could take another 5,000 of those dollars and put it towards an up and coming stock that you believe in is going to be a great solution for a problem that the world is facing right now. You can see the growth and you align with personally. That also helps to round out your diversification, although you don't want to put so much money right now in paper trails and stocks and bonds that we don't know what's going to happen with right now if the stock market crashes. But again, people who are solving the world's biggest problems right now and you align with personally, these are companies that are going to continue to grow, because if you feel strongly, if you feel ethically connected, if you feel like the solution is the right solution, these are the companies that are going to grow in the future. So again, you just want to look at a percentage. You want to diversify a bit. Do I own a stock that I feel is going to grow and I personally align with and is going to make a difference in the world? Do I have some access to cash on hand? Do I have some access to savings gold? Do I have some access to spending gold? Am I invested in any kind of digital coin like Bitcoin? And then can I put the bulk of my money into real estate? Can I buy land? Can I buy an investment property? Can I get cash flow in other ways? Can I get on Airbnb? Can I rent out my house? Can I rent out my backyard? Can I do camping? Like excursions? What can I rent out that I already own? How can I get some cash flow and some investment out of this to pay off my own mortgage, to help pay down what I have? Can I go into more debt and get the bank to hold it for me? Can I get a second mortgage? Can I put as little as my money in and get way more leverage from the bank and then be able to, with cash flow, pay these things down. This is how people do it. They don't actually take their money, their $50,000, and store it in a bank and never use it. They reinvest it. They get more into debt. They let the bank hold it, and they just pay off and they have all these assets that they're growing. This is how the rich get richer. So I would say you need your own lockbox at home. You need your own safety security box where you have access to the key yourself. And this is where you're putting some of that stuff. You also have your papers, you have your money. You're putting as much as you can into a second venture, a business, real estate, land. Leverage your power and get cash flow. And I'm not an expert on money, but the great thing here is there's so much advice online. There's so much free learning that you can do. Invest in yourself. Invest in yourself as your best resource. Invest in your own online learning. So other ways to make extra cash that you can have on hand as well, aside from doing a side hustle or a side job, is you can take an inventory of everything in your home. Things that you don't need, things that don't have value. So you want to hang on to food, anything food, shelter, heat related, anything that's going to be useful if there was a depression, if there was a great reset, any kind of kitchen cooking tool, instrument, or outdoor things, firewood. These are all things. Even alcohol could be a bartering system at some point in the future. I don't have alcohol in my house, but like hang on to the things that are going to be valuable for you. Services, products, things that you need, like all your shedding tools and shovels and saws and ladders. You are going to need all these. You're going to want all these if you need to be self-sufficient. Your fishing poles, different things like that. You're going to need to be self-sufficient. There's a lot of junk in our house that we have that doesn't give us any value. Old knickknacks and old clothes and old pieces of furniture, old things like that, that are not going to help us in a crisis situation, that are just sitting there and can be refurbished, sold, and sell these items. You can make a lot of money, and then you can take that money and buy gold coins with it. You can take that money and put it in cash in your own safety deposit box for things around the house that you don't want, that take up space, that clutter, and aren't going to be valuable to you in an emergency situation, or helping you to be self-sufficient or useful in any kind of a pandemic, another pandemic, war, Great Depression, any kind of a situation like this. So make an inventory in your home. What is useful? What can be used? Keep the things that please you aesthetically, that you love. Again, we want to make this a joyful, happy place, but anything that you can get rid of and that can turn into monetary asset for you, don't have these things sitting around that are useless and are going to be useless for you in that situation. Sell them, get rid of them, make money. It's a full business. You can be making the money and reinvesting it in yourself, reinvesting it in the things that matter. All right, so let's just go over a quick list of what are useful items. What are things in your house when you're taking an inventory that you're going to want to keep? What are things that you want to have stocked in your home? Keep anything fuel related, fuel cans, fuel, any firewood, anything that you can heat with. Keep your garden supplies, your shovels, your rakes, anything that's going to be valuable, your ladders, all of these tools. Keep all of your tools. Keep all those bits of hardware and everything that you have in your shed. All of these are going to be really important for self-sufficiency. Buckets for gathering water, all kinds of the things that you might need. Tarps are going to be really great. You can use tarps for so many things. Round up all the old plastic and the old tarps and the garden shed tools and the tools and the hardware. You want to keep all these. Anything power related, all of your electronics up to date. Get rid of and sell all the old electronics that are just sitting in drawers that you don't use. But any electronics that are worthy to you, you want to have those, you want to keep those. All of your cooking utensils, knives, any preparation devices, dehydrators, Vitamixes, soup stock pots and canning products, your Instant Pot, and anything that you can make and prepare and save food in, your cans, your containers, glass cans. You would probably want to load up on things like mason jars, a couple of cases of blank mason jars, so that you have them for storing food, for canning food, anything transportation related. You may not need 2 cars, so that could be a great way to unload a vehicle, get money, put it into an asset like land or real estate or your own business, as opposed to having it tied up in a car that's losing value. Keep one method of transportation in a vehicle, like a car, but you may not have access to gas, you may not have access to these things, so also keep some other forms of transportation, like some bikes if you have them. Medical supplies, so hydrogen peroxide and Band-Aids and basic medical supplies, any of the medical supplies that you use for health, again, all your supplements, your household supplies, so any household supplies, containers, kitchen supplies, any cleaning supplies, everything like that is valuable to you. You want to build it. You want to continue to invest in it, to add a little bit more each week, to store it. Anything else that's just sitting in a drawer that's useless, get rid of it. You can sell it and take the cash. Clothing and personal hygiene, you want to make sure you have some clothes for all weathers. Bathing suits, coats, winter jackets, hats, rain jackets, gear, your boots. You want to make sure you have everything covered for every season, but get rid of the waste and make the money back. So anytime something doesn't fit your kids anymore, anytime you have too much of one thing, get rid of it, take the money again, reinvest it in yourself, reinvest it in an asset that's going to be beneficial, but make sure that you have enough clothing, blankets, things to keep you warm and cool, hats, sunglasses, whatever, just personal items that you need. Also, when you're doing an inventory of your house, you may want to look for bartering items. So items that may not be useful for you to be self-sufficient, and items that may not be useful or that you may not want personally, but items of value that can be bartered. So like jewelry may not give you any value, but it can be bartered. Alcohol might not give you any value, but it can be bartered. So when you're doing an inventory of your house, if there's really high value pieces that you have, things of value, things that you think other people would want, things that you could trade, just keep that in mind. But if it's not useful to you, if you can't barter with it, if it's not going to help you in a crisis, if it's not adding to your own household preparation list, it's probably, and it doesn't bring you serious, if it's a useful item and it brings you serious joy, of course, keep it. But if it's just kind of there and you can get rid of it and you can sell it and put it into something more productive, this is how you can arm your whole house with everything you need and get rid of everything you don't. So you don't have to go get a second job or take out another mortgage to make this prep list. You can take things in your home and sell them that really aren't going to be beneficial to you, and you can use that to stock up on the things that you are going to need. And there's one more category that we didn't talk about, and that's self-defense. The reason I didn't talk about that is because I don't own a gun. I'm a non-violent person. I wouldn't feel comfortable owning a gun. And I've never had a gun, and nobody in my family's ever had a gun. I don't even know how to shoot a gun. But you have other things and you just want to know where they are. Just like if an intruder came in, you might want to know where your baseball bat is, or God forbid, a knife in the kitchen if you had to pull it out and use it. So these things are also useful for hunting. So a rifle can be used if we have to go hunt the land, if you have to provide for your family by hunting and eating that, by having your fishing tackle so that you can go out and fish and provide for your family. You may need to hunt. People did used to have to live off the land. And if it comes to that and you don't have sources to your own animal protein, you don't have enough food, you're going to need that. So having a rifle, being able to have a hunting license, being able to go out and hunt could be something that you want to look into, and make sure you have enough ammunition for that. As well as access to things like if you felt threatened or safety, like walkie-talkies, batteries, other ways to get in communication with close communication with you and your family. If cell phones weren't working and cell phone towers were gone, you might want to look at walkie-talkies, personal radio devices, even the personal alarms where you can find someone. So all of these kind of self-defense things, you might want to look into the category of that. I'm not going to speak to that too much, but you can look it up online, do what you feel comfortable with in the way of self-defense for you and your family. And even being able to kill your own food, even being able to fish and then cook that fish, hunt and then cook that game. We're so used to going into the grocery store. We're so used to not having to protect ourselves or not having to hunt for ourselves, but these are skills that we may need to learn again. All right, so that brings us to access of information. So you want to be sure that in a crisis coming up that you're not cut off from access to true information, because all the censorship, all the things that we're afraid of not being able to have access to truth and only have access to what the media or the government or whoever's in control, the propaganda, it's good to have information on that, but it's also good to have independent information, being able to have access to information. So what can you do? How can you also be protecting your own data, making sure that other companies, online presences, big tech corporations, medical corporations, government corporations are not mining you, mining your data, keeping an inventory on you, surveillance on you, tracking you, and monitoring you. What do we do here? So the best thing is to get off the big giants social media platforms. I mean, you can just cancel your Facebook platform altogether. Now, I know I did that, but I miss it because the things I miss it for, I used it as a photo album. I also use, you use it as a photo album. You get used to looking back over years and having these pictures collected, but you can just download those pictures. We really don't need Facebook to be our online photo album. There's other spots that you can interact with your friends, keep connections with your friends, and also have services like buy and sell or anything, or you can even create accounts for the moment, go on, use buy and sell, use however it is you need to use it, and then deactivate that account. So it doesn't need to be an open account on you and your life that everybody can data mine and have access to. Similarly, you could get off any channels that are heavily censored, any accounts that are data mining you and monitoring you in certain ways. And you can start to create accounts on places that are free, like Locals or Rumble. There's so many online like video platforms and also messaging platforms, Telegram. There's all kinds of stuff. So you can look into a few trusted sources for independent news and for independent ways to send data back and forth that's protected, that's censor free, connect with people, these kinds of situations. So you can start to create those accounts now and start to phase out some of your accounts. You can be more limited with the people that you hand your email address out to, with the surveys that you complete, with the data that you're giving out right now. And then you can use the sites. You can use sites to access independent information to make sure that you have access to free speech, to have access to say and different people's opinions, and access to independent journalism, access to information that you may want. Build that online presence now, or build up different accounts so that you can learn who out there is an independent journalist, who's giving some good information. What sites can you join right now before they're taken down, and on different platforms that you can find out information that you may need. So that's a good thing to do now, and just to start to phase out some of the more heavily censored, heavily monitored, and heavily data mined social media websites. And I'm not saying get rid of all of them, of course not. You want at least to keep one mainstream, to get some mainstream news and to be able to interact with family and friends. But it's a good idea to limit the amount of personal information that you put on those. You never know how that data is going to be used or used against you in the coming years. The other thing is, right now, the internet, while we have it, we want to use it to be able to access all of this information so that we can arm ourselves with knowledge. And again, YouTube is the best teachers. You can find teachers on any subject that you want online, from gardening to canning your food to best money advice, to anything that you need to do. If you need to start giving yourself haircuts at home, how to give the best haircut. I mean, you can find anything online, and people give away their best advice for free. It's amazing. So you can learn a skill online. You can learn to put yourself in a position where you can do a side hustle with a really important skill. And you don't have to spend $100,000 at a university or college. You can go online for free and spend as many hours as you want honing that skill or craft, learning it from the bottom up, and you can do it all for free. It's simply amazing the information that you can get on every single topic out there. So use it, invest in yourself, invest in a certain portion of your time every day to learning, to growing, developing your knowledge, and developing your skills.
And lastly, if we were in an emergency situation, remember what's important. Focus on what's important. It's not your house. It's not all the things you have inside. When someone gets really, really sick, or when you have a fire or a flood or something disastrous happens to you, the first thing that you do is think about your relationships, the people that you love. Your most valuable asset is your relationships and your love and the ones that you're close to. You always want to keep those people close to you and safe. You know, we focus on our health in times of crisis. If you get a massive diagnosis, a cancer diagnosis, a chronic illness diagnosis, you're not worried about those other things. You're worried about your health. So your relationships, your family, your health, these become the most important assets of your life. And really, they're all that matters. Being able to meet your basic survival needs with food and water and shelter, it's very basic, right? We have all these things in this life and we feel the need to continue to accumulate and then protect everything that we have. But humans are animals and we're very simple. In the end, we don't need much. We need our family, we need our tribe, we need water, shelter, safety, and that's about it, and food. That's about it. So when it comes down to it, we don't need anything else. So focus right now on the things that you're going to need. If a crisis really does come, if the worst happens, if you want to break away from the governmental system and you need to start to be self-reliant, you want your family, you want good friends, you want a community, you want to focus on love, you get out in nature, you're still going to walk, you're still going to have the sun, access to places that you might like to go and fun things to do and going to the beach and walking, like all of these things that we need are free. As long as you can drink your water, cook and eat your food, have shelter and a heat source and some clothes, you are going to be fine. You can start now to let everything else go that doesn't matter. Humans are simple creatures. We can survive on almost nothing. We need very few things. We need the basics of survival. We need love in our hearts, health on our side, and we thrive. So start to look at how we can not only just survive in times of crisis, but thrive, right? How we can be happy, how we can be emotionally connected, happy, fulfilled, living a purpose-driven life. These are the things that matter, even when we have everything around us that we love. It always comes down to, what's my purpose? What am I trying to accomplish in this life? How can I give? How can I help? How can I serve? How can I fill myself up, fulfill myself? Where's my joy and my happiness coming from? These are the questions that are always the important questions. So even if inflation continues to rise and paychecks don't continue to rise and money continues to get less and less valuable, right? 30 bucks in the bank today isn't what 30 banks in the buck used to be. And you know, with inflation rising, it's not, so money can devalue at any point, but you can get more valuable. You building up your skills, building up the confidence in yourself, building up your joy, your happiness, your relationships, your love. Money might get less valuable, but you get more valuable. Thinking good thoughts, creating, imagining. You can make yourself so valuable in times of crisis. What skills do you have? What can you learn? What can you give? What do you have to offer the world? You can still sell these services. You can create businesses. So even in a time of a crisis, make sure that you value you. You put time and resources into yourself, building, growing, developing your skills, thoughts, emotions, everything, so that you bet on you. So remember that. You are the most important asset that you have, you. And sometimes a crisis doesn't only affect our physical things and what we have and we lose things, but it also affects us mentally, socially, emotionally, right? The stress that we carry when we're going through crisis, we can still let those go. We can meditate, we can pray, we can fill ourselves with joy and love and fulfilling relationships and tasks that we need to do and are helping and serving and fulfill us and give us a purpose and a drive in this life, right? Sometimes the circumstances of the world affect us even more emotionally than they do with all our things. So even as you're prepping, do it without fear. Like, remember, you are building a future for yourself, no matter how this future plays out. And you get to create what you want in your life. You can say no to something you don't want and yes to other things. You're building what you want. You're building a health, purpose, fulfilling life. And you don't need the government to do that. You don't need all these things to do that. You don't need the perfect environment. All of these things help, yes. But remember, you're an important asset, and your emotions, your thoughts, the way you spend your emotions and thoughts and energy matter.
And finally, one of the greatest things that you can do to prepare for an upcoming reset is stay calm, stay confident, learn who you are, spend some time on yourself, learn what you love, learn what your values are, learn what feels right to you inside. Because when things get crazy, or when you're in a situation that feels imminent or an emergency type situation, that's not the time to soul search. The time to soul search is now. Like, who are you? What do you want in this life? What's valuable to you? What do you believe in? What are your personal values? What's ethical to you? What do you believe in? What's integrity to you? You know, you have to ask these questions of yourself. You have to spend the time now to prepare emotionally, spiritually, and also your mindset. Keep a positive attitude. Keep a can-do attitude. Know that you're prepared and then forget it. Worrying is going to do you no good. The only thing that you should do if you find yourself living in fear or living in worry, oh my God, what am I gonna do? Make a list and then take action. So watch this video again, take action. Anytime you feel worry or overwhelm or worry, take an action from your list of something that's really worrying you and move it forward. Get it out of your head, get it onto paper, and then take an action. Because when we do something, when we take actions, we get rid of the worry, the monkey mind going around and round, and we get closer to feeling confident, closer to feeling secure. So the goal isn't to prepare and then dread and worry. The goal is to prepare, feel confident, and let it go. To not spend your days worrying, because remember, what matters is each day. What matters is the life that you're living now. So yes, we want to prepare for a future follow. Yes, we want to prepare for the worst case scenario, but we need to remember that life is here. Life is here and now. Our relationships are here and now. The interactions on a daily basis, the love, the joy that we have in our life is here and now. And so we want to spend our energy, our positive energy, in our daily life, and less of it worrying and dreading and what ifing. Even on this healing journey, you do the work. You don't spend your time feeling sorry for yourself or in victimhood. You see what you need to do, you do the work, and you make progress every day. But remember, as we're doing that, life is now. Life is now, and we can't waste our life planning for the future. We can't waste our life trying to fight a battle that we really have no control over. This is a global agenda. This is a global takeover. This is a global battle. It's not something that you have the power to control. And so you have to let go of control. You have to say, you know, I don't want a digital ID. I don't want a digital currency. I'm afraid of the World Economic Forum. I'm afraid of all these things. I don't like what the government, I don't want censorship. You can worry about that. But because you can't control it, you can just do what you can do and know that that's good enough. Know that protecting your family in a way and then letting it go is the best thing you can do. It's up to everyone to do their part. If we all do our part, if we all prepare, if we all put forth a positive attitude, if we all look deep inside and find our own values and beliefs and uphold good and kindness and love in this world, we're gonna be okay. So you do your part. Let everybody else do their part. Remember, you cannot control the world. You cannot solve this problem. The best you can do is help to solve your own family's problem, protect yourself and your loved ones, and then live your best life. That is the best thing any of us can do. Spread our truth, spread our light, live your best life. Don't leave anything on the table. Still take chances, take risks, find joy, find enjoyment. This life is meant to be lived, to experience, and to share, to give and share and send love. So I hope this video has been helpful. I hope you'll watch it again. I hope you'll take all the advice, take notes, take action, and then remember to let go and live in the moment. And remember, this video, I'm not an expert. I don't know more than you. Neither do the people running the country. Neither do the elite billionaires. Remember, we're all human beings. We're all learning. We're all growing. No one's better than you. So take your own personal power and know that I'm not an expert. You're not an expert. But together, when we share this information, put in the comments what else you're doing. What did I miss? Let's help each other out. Help each other out with other ideas, things that we can do. Did I get something wrong? Should I be thinking about something else? I'd love your input. I'd love all your advice, because this is how we learn. This is how we grow together. This is how we can make sure that we don't lose all these valuable things that we've worked for. This video is one of thousands. Go watch more videos. Make a plan. Use your own intuition. Think about what things you're gonna need, what things you place value on, and make a plan and then take action. Be the change you wanna see in the world. And finally, I would say one more thing. This is a chronic illness channel. So I always counsel people, when you are looking to take back your health, it's an inside job and you have to be the authority. You're the authority on your own life. You have to take responsibility for your healing. You have to take responsibility for everything you do in order to heal yourself. You can't outsource your healing, because if you have a chronic illness that the medical profession and the pharmaceutical industry and everybody else can't solve, stop outsourcing and start insourcing your problem. So I would just say this, when it comes to everything going on politically and economically and even medically right now with the vaccines, the pandemic, everything going on in the world, remember, you are the authority on you. You're the authority on your own life. You drive your life. You must drive your life. You have to stop outsourcing. And I would say a lot of people who come to this channel who have chronic illness, and it could be anybody, but generally have gotten themselves into this situation because they're perfectionists, they're people pleasers, they want to be liked, and they have a lot of repressed emotions, a lot of repressed feelings, and they strive to make other people happy, to just go with the status quo, to do what everybody else is doing, not to make waves, right? And so you have to begin to look within. You have to begin to look within and say, what do I want? What do I feel, right? Stop outsourcing and stop trying to please everybody. Stop carrying guilt and shame and worry and fear of judgment and criticism of other people, or that they won't like you if you don't conform, if you don't do what they want. Right now we have a government, we have institutions saying you must do this, and they're laying shame on people. You must do these things or else you'll be viewed as, horrible people who, the list goes on. But you can't worry about other people. We tell this to our kids. We tell this to our children. You can't worry about what other people think of you. Don't worry about their critical nature or their judgment. You do you. You be the best version of you can be. You make authentic decisions for yourself, and you don't spend your life trying to please others. That's a losing game. It was a losing game on the schoolyard at recess. It was a losing game as a teenager, and it's a losing game now. You must look for the answers within. You must live the one and only life that you've been given and make decisions that take your life in a direction that you want it to go. Lead a life that resonates with you, that is authentic to your own values and beliefs and how you feel. Stop looking around to the left, to the right of you. What do they say? What do they say? What do these experts think? You don't need any of that. You are the authority.
You make the decisions. You drive your life. And this can be a wonderful life. Stop outsourcing it. Take back your own power. You have the power. You have always had the power to make your own decisions, to drive your own life forward, and to lead an amazing life. You know, free of worry of what anyone else thinks of you. And what you think of you is the most important thing. So start to give yourself inner praise, inner love, be your own best friend. You know, give yourselves the things that you need, because you're not getting them from the outside world right now, and you're not going to, but you can meet your needs by giving them to yourself. And that's the most exciting part, because that is the best love. Self-love is the best love, right? Self-validation. Find your value within, find your value in the eyes of God, in the eyes of your creator, whoever that is, whatever that is, as part of this amazing universe that we all belong to, and live in accordance to your deepest beliefs and values. So I hope you've liked this video. It has been a long one, so if you're still here, thanks for hanging in there with me. This is all the things we can do to get prepared. Get prepared, then let go, and remember, be the authority on you. Like, subscribe, share, and hit whatever you need to do for this YouTube algorithm. Thank you.